Good morning and welcome to Faith Fridays with Coach Ellis. This is the day I spend just a few minutes talking with you about principles of faith, how we use the stories from the book of life to help us walk this path. So look, for the last few weeks we've been talking about how to defeat the giants in your life, how to slay the giants, how to kill the giants, how to just get rid of the giants, those obstacles, those stumbling blocks, those things between you and your place of destiny. And so we've been using the story of David and Goliath to talk about this. We've talked about it doesn't matter how the giant got there, the giant's there. Doesn't matter who talks against you. You can't let others talk you out of doing what you've been called to do. We've talked about you can't win with his stuff. You must use what God has given you to fight your giants. You can't fight your giant with someone else's story, someone else's stuff. Last week we talked about the difference between trash talking and truth telling. That it sounds the same, but when the enemy yaps at you, you can yap back with the power of the truth that you've already won. And so after David is approaching Goliath, and Goliath is approaching him, and they're yapping at each other, Goliath comes with a shield and a sword and a spear, and David goes to the brook, Lady D, and retrieves, the Bible says, 5 smooth stones. So Brenda, I've always wondered about these 5 smooth stones. What are these? And so I began to do a little research, and if you allow me to eisegete just for a little bit, I want to talk to you about what possibly were these 5 stones that he picked up. Because each one of the stones had to have value. We don't know which one he was going to choose, but whichever one he chose, it would have to go into a sling, and he'd get 1, maybe 2 shots at most at going after this giant. And so when he reaches down into the brook, I imagine he picked up something called a keystone. Now, if you're familiar with a keystone, the keystone sits at the top of an arch, and it holds things together by applying pressure outwardly. So as the archway pressures inwardly, the keystone sits right on top and allows that pressure to hold the arch in place. The reason that's important to us as we walk this life is that many of us are that keystone. The pressures from everybody else, we hold them in place so that they don't fall. We don't relieve pressure. We don't obviate pressure. We apply pressure so others don't fall. Now, that's a hard place to be. And when we fight the giants of our life, sometimes we feel we must apply pressure so that things don't fall apart. What happens if the keystone isn't in place? There's not enough pressure for the arch to stand, and it falls, it collapses, which means the entire roof collapses. And everything above you comes crashing down on you, Stephen. And so we really, really have to be careful as we're fighting the giants in our lives that we understand there is a keystone that applies pressure. It absorbs the pressure from the outside and applies pressure down to keep things from falling. But when he fights this giant, he could have chosen the keystone and simply applied pressure. And what that looks like when you fight your giant, it looks like you look at that giant in the eye and you go after him. The more the giant comes at you, the more you go at it. Like 2 rams or 2 antelope in the wilderness, they're just going to bump heads. And I believe that God will tell us, hey, if you want to fight your giants by going head up with them, fighting them and bumping heads, you go right ahead. You may get what you want, but you will not get what I have for you. He could have chosen the keystone to simply meet strength with strength, power with power, testosterone with testosterone, meet strength with strength. He could have chosen that. But I'm glad at this juncture we know he did not choose the keystone. On this Faith Friday, what I want you to take home is this: that when you fight your giants, you do have the option of meeting force with force. But in the end, that may not kill your giant. It may only bring you to a stalemate. I ain't saying, I'm just saying. If you got questions, comments about the keystone, go ahead and leave comments in below. Catch me on my email at coach@elliscrum.com or hit me online on Facebook at Coach Ellis. Until next week, when we talk about the next stone, Have a one tablets, faith-filled, hopefully not pressure-filled, Faith Friday. God bless you, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.